No, just because
How dare you compare my dogs to
you
cats?
have two
just
cats.
Like their demeanor, like they're so calm.
All right, so you have two cats that are male and female.
I do.
That have two very different personalities.
They do.
But,
one's super hyper and the other one's super chill.
My dogs
Very similar. Well, not super hyper, but
yeah. It depends.
Yeah, it depends on. It's very situational.
Some nuances there.
Yes.
Perhaps. Okay.
I'm sure they get along.
Hello, everyone, and according to the text on the streaming software over here, it seems like we are live. So, hi everyone, welcome to Awesome Hardware.
Hey.
This is a live show about technology. We talk about computers mostly, and we stream every Tuesday evening at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. We stream the whole show to twitch.tv/awesomehardware, or we stream two halves. The first half we already did, episode 145-A, has been on Kyle's channel, Bitwit. Link to that is in the video's description. We're now kicking off 145 second half.
We sure are,
Side
Paul.
B, which means a few things. First, we've already been drinking a few beers. So, cheers to any of you guys who are joining us. Please drink responsibly. And we will try our best not to slur our speech, which is always one of the difficult things about making the show. Beyond that, occasionally we do use adult language, so if you have any young ones or people who are offended by that type of thing, lock them in the cupboard or whatever you do with them.
Kill them all.
And then also we do have some stores if you guys enjoy the content that we produce and you want to help support us. paulshardware.net is my store where I have a variety of shirts, mugs, pint glasses, hoodies, all sorts of good stuff. It's all real high quality, so buy some stuff, help support us, and we will shout Johnson to your face at the end of this half of the show. Kyle's store is also available, bitwit.tech/store. He has a new design in the RIP gamepad, which is very violent and offensive to lots of people.
You should definitely represent it and wear it on your chest.
But buy it anyway, yes.
It's only $20.
Wear it on your chest.
It's worth it.
But yeah, if you buy stuff, we'll shout your name out at the end of the show, which is just a crazy incentive to do that and spend money. Anyway, we're going to talk on the first half of this show mainly about some Intel news that dropped today. It's actually pretty expansive, and we'll try to gauge your opinion on how excited or not
excited
you are about it. And then the second half of the show, we're going to play some video games.
Ooh, I like that.
Yes, indeed. Kind of looking forward to that.
Fun.
Actually. But let's kick things off with a burp.
Sure.
As is tradition. And the news segments.
Yes.
And the bulk of this news I'm going to be deriving from the AnandTech article about this. Intel's expansion of their 8th gen core lineup. And this is, again, pretty expansive. Covers new launches coming to the mobile space, so mobile processors, as well as socketed desktop processors on the mainstream side. So we're talking LGA 1151 processors that are compatible with the same motherboards that have been launched for Coffee Lake. Okay, hold on. But there are new motherboards coming out, new chipsets, because
more budget-oriented.
Coffee Lake actually launched 5 months ago. October was when Coffee Lake launched, but it didn't fully launch. There were things missing from it, right?
They rushed it.
So again, the AnandTech article that's linked in the description, as well as all the articles we're going to talk about today, has a lot more on this. So if you guys are really interested, I encourage you to read that. This article is by Dr. Ian Cutress. And he points out at the beginning that there's lots of different aspects to Intel's processor strategy. So not just products, but sort of how they're trying to set themselves up in the marketplace. We have the Core i9-8950HK, which is a 6-core tagged as a Core i9 processor, although I feel like the Core i9 tagging of that is sort of weird. It's a mobile processor, though.
Weird.
But 6-core and 12-thread. A really high-end mobile processor, but I still feel like i9 was just recently introduced for their enthusiast lineup, and
it's It's more of a branding.
Suddenly tagging a 6-core processor that's based on the same technology as
kind of
the
devalues
mainstream
it a
stuff.
bit, right?
It does. It feels a little bit. Anyway, but there's also other mobile stuff. 6 new Intel H series 45-watt mobile CPUs, 4 new Intel U series 28-watt mobile CPUs, and I'm not going to be going over this today, but as I was sort of doing research and everything, there's a bunch of new product drops for laptops today. So it seems like there are a bunch of laptop manufacturers who have been kind of holding up and waiting for Intel to get to this point where they're like, all right, here's all the stuff, and now we can sell it and people can buy it. So there's a bunch of new laptops. I don't have any more details on them than that, but if you were in the market for a laptop, it's definitely going to be worth your while to do some investigation as to the new products based on Intel's new stuff that's been announced today. But when it comes to this list specifically, we're going to mainly talk about a little bit more on the 8950HK, and then we're going to talk about the new desktop Coffee Lake CPUs because they've fleshed out the rest of the lineup, because there's really only been about 5 Coffee Lake SKUs available since it launched back in October. And then there's 4 new desktop chipsets that will be available in new motherboards, which of course will be compatible with all these new Coffee Lake CPUs as well as the existing like 8700K and 8600K. But starting off, the Core i9 8950HK. If you're a laptop user and if you're into powerful mobile technology, this thing is actually pretty beastly. It's a 6-core processor with 12 threads, 2.9 gigahertz base clock, and 4.6 gigahertz nominal maximum turbo. We say nominal maximum turbo because it can actually turbo beyond that depending on the configuration that it's in. More on that in just a second though. The graphics that are integrated is the Intel UHD 630. The comparison we're looking at here on the AnandTech chart is the new processor, the 8950HK, compared to the last year's highest end processor, which was the i7-7820HK, which was based on Kaby Lake H, launched back in January 2017. Both of these are 45-watt TDP CPUs, but you can see there's a big boost in core and thread count, 6-core 12 versus the 4-core 8-thread of before. Also, we have a significantly higher turbo frequency at 4.6 gigahertz, and then we have this TVB, thermal velocity boost, which is like Intel was like, you know that turbo stuff? We want to like do another one of those and put it on top of the turbo.
What?
And that's what that is.
What's the difference between TVB and turbo frequency?
TVB, all right, you're making me jump ahead in my notes here, Kyle, but I will humor you. TVB is another phase on top of turbo boost. If the CPU stays underneath a certain temperature, which for this specific CPU is 53 degrees Celsius, then it can clock up to 200 megahertz faster.
Okay.
That's pretty much it. So
It's
from
like
the
simple
4.6 from the 4.6 gigahertz boost, it can go to 4.8 gigahertz boost.
If
But
it's under that threshold.
if it's under the threshold.
Got it.
But bear in mind, this is a mobile processor, so we're talking about laptops.
Mm-hmm.
The laptops, these are probably going to be integrated in our desktop replacement laptops that are usually significantly larger, that can have substantial cooling systems that are integrated with multiple heat pipes and fans and that kind of thing. So, you know, there's a trade-off. There's a balance between the lightness and portability versus the amount of power that's in there. But this is a mobile processor, so the 45-watt TDP is pretty impressive. Now, it should be pointed out that the 45-watt TDP is based on the base frequency of 2.9 gigahertz.
Yeah.
So
at 4.6, it's probably different.
So at 4.6, it definitely increases beyond that. Can go, but Intel isn't giving as much information about this, and this is actually something that Ian kind of laments in the article. Is that Intel decided, I feel like sometime in the past year or two, like, hey, we're not going to tell you all the different steps of turbo that it goes to, and everything, and we're going to leave that out. They said that because it's proprietary or something like that, which is
bullshit.
Kind of weird, because any third-party manufacturer who integrates this into a laptop, because it's a K-SKU CPU, can overclock it and set it to whatever frequency they want. And also, Intel withholding this information, any actual person who gets the processor physically can just test it and tell you what the different turbo states are and everything. So
Right.
anyway, I happen to agree with Ian and his assessment of Intel's decision to withhold that information. But
Yeah.
for the record, if you guys do want to check this article out and scroll down to the bottom, further down. No, it's not on this page, but it's further down. They do actually have a chart of the different turbo, the turbo frequency steppings and that kind of thing. But beyond that, blah 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 blah. Oh, I already said that. Turbo velocity boost. Intel has not specifically stated that this is a Coffee Lake derived CPU, but they have said it's based on the latest generation 14 nanometer process technology, which basically means it's 14 nanometer plus plus, which is what Coffee Lake is based on. So it's we can safely assume it's a Coffee Lake processor, even though Intel hasn't said that explicitly. Also worth mentioning, for any of you guys who are on the workstation market or just looking for other options. Oh, did I mention it's $583
For the laptop?
That's the tray price for the processor. So that's the.
Oh wow!
If you buy 1,000 of them at a time, it's $583, which probably means it's going to be about $600 effective price for consumers. Although when it comes to mobile processors, it's hard to say exactly how much it costs because usually it's integrated into the price of an entire laptop.
Right.
But the tray price is still a decent step up from the 7820HK
Interesting.
from before, which was $378.
So yeah.
You do also get some enhanced DRAM support, though, DDR4 2666 as opposed to the DDR4 2400, and you get Optane support too.
Slightly faster integrated graphics too.
Yeah, UHD rather than HD, which I can't tell what that means besides 100 megahertz faster.
Yeah.
That gives it an ultra. 100 megahertz faster, it's ultra now.
It's ultra.
Okay. All right, what else can we talk about here? Beyond that, oh, did I mention the Xeon? I was just mentioning the Xeon. Do we have stats on the Xeon somewhere?
The Xeon mobile processor?
There's a Xeon equivalent of this processor.
Wow.
That some people might be interested in. It's called the Xeon E2186M. It's a little bit more expensive tray price, $623. Whereas it is not overclockable, as in the KSQ 8950HK is. It gives you ECC memory support as well as support for Intel vPro. And vPro is an important feature for people who want to use this in an office environment. It's a set of features that allows remote access to the computer and hardware security and all that kind of thing. But other than that, it's effectively the same. It's got the same turbo frequency, it's got the same base frequency, it's got the same L3 cache. So yeah, for you guys who are looking for a workstation, like super high-end workstation setup, maybe check out some of the new laptops that will undoubtedly be coming out based on the Intel Xeon E2186M. All right, beyond that though, jumping back to the original list here, there's of course the 6 new Intel H series processors, 4 Intel U series processors, a crap ton of laptops coming out based on those in different configurations and all that kind of stuff. Not delving into that for right now. We're going to jump down to the desktop stuff because I have a feeling that is what you guys are a little bit more interested in. So the Coffee Lake desktop processors that have now been added to the stack, if you guys are reading this AnandTech article, all of the ones that are new are labeled with an asterisk here. So prior to now, we've only had 5 processors in this lineup: the 8700K, 8700, 8600K, and there's 8400, for example. So on the i7 level, we're adding the 8700T, which is a 35-watt TDP processor with a 2.4 gigahertz base frequency and a 4.0 gigahertz boost frequency. Again, this 35-watt TDP is based on the base frequency. So depending on the laptop that it's integrated into and the cooling on that laptop and so forth, you may or may not be able to hit that boost frequency consistently over time, for example. These do have vPro enabled. They've got 2666 DDR4 DRAM support, and yeah, just basically giving you the wider range of processors that you may have expected before with an Intel lineup that wasn't prior to now available on Coffee Lake. So on the i5 side, there's a lot more. The 8600, the 8600T, the 8500, the 8500T, and the 8400T. These are all 6-core, 6-thread processors, whereas the i7s are 6-core with hyper-threading, so they're 12 threads. And again, we have 95, 65, and 35 watt variants. These all have a little bit less L3 cache per core, and the new ones have vPro support, whereas the old ones do not. So maybe something to keep in mind if you're building systems for an enterprise environment or that kind of thing. The i3s have a few more as well, 8300, 8300T, and 8100T. $117 for the 8100T is the lowest price here for the new processors, and that's a 4-core, 4-thread CPU. Again, 35 watt TDP with a 3.1 gigahertz base frequency. All right, there's Pentiums down here and Celerons, and the dogs are freaking out right now.
Well,
but hold on. They're not gonna listen to me now. They're not gonna listen. Hey. Sorry, the dogs are barking. Here's a chart showing the actual turbo frequencies per core. So if you guys are interested in a specific processor, then you can do that. It's also got the the cost listed next to it as well. So again, links to the articles we're talking about today are linked in the description down below. My goodness. Sorry, the dogs.
You guys are loud.
The dogs are barking loud there.
Wow.
Hero is freaking out. All right. To go along with these new processors,
Chipsets.
Okay.
Okay. She just comes waddling over. Oh.
My wife is home. Okay.
With the assist. Wife with the assist.
To pair up with these new processors, we now also have new Intel chipsets, which new motherboards will be based on, that you can now buy for less money than you would have previously spent on a Z370 motherboard.
Sure.
Because again, since October, the last 5 months, Z370 was the only LGA 1151 motherboard that you could buy that was compatible with Coffee Lake.
Right.
Now we have 4 new chipsets that are compatible with Intel 8th generation processors: the H370, the Q370, the B360, and the H310. And a kind of unique thing about these new processors is that they actually have kind of an upgrade. So there is something that's better about all 4 of these that is not as good about the Z370, and that's specifically the integration of 802.11ac Wi-Fi.
So you mean chipsets, not, I think you said processors. You meant chipsets, right?
I said, sorry, yes, chipsets.
Okay, yeah.
Chipsets, yes. So all 4 of these new chipsets
so AC Wi-Fi
have the possible ability for the motherboard manufacturer
if they want to implement it
to connect up 802.11ac Wi-Fi. Now,
that's nice.
The article goes into a little bit more detail.
Wi-Fi.
When you're talking about these budget chipset motherboards, especially like something like an H310, you're looking at motherboards that are usually in the like $40 to $60 range.
Right.
Adding Wi-Fi to something like that, 802.11ac, which has a theoretical throughput of like 1700 megabits per second, which is faster possibly than wired gigabit.
Yeah.
It's pretty fast. But to add that to a budget chipset motherboard costs about $15 extra because you have to add like an antenna and the extra hardware that goes along with it.
Yeah. So
basically, the super budget motherboards like H310, you're probably going to need to look specifically for one of those that has the 802.11ac integrated, if that's specifically something that you're looking after.
Right.
You'll probably see it integrated more into the B360s and the H370s and so on. But just something to keep an eye on. Just because the motherboard chipset provides the ability to have that connectivity, whether it comes to 802.11 AC Wi-Fi or USB 3.1 Gen 2, which is also a new native thing that's been added to these motherboards. It doesn't necessarily mean that the motherboard manufacturer is actually providing those plugs and the connectivity for that. So here's another possible thing that you could say this is an upgrade. That's not to say that there haven't been Z370 motherboards that have had USB 3.1 Gen 2, but it's been by virtue of an add-on chip. So having it natively, I can't say this for sure because I haven't tested, but usually it means it's a bit better. It's a bit faster. Native connectivity, but you can have 4 USB 3.1 Gen 2 ports on the H370, 6 on the Q370, 4 on the B360, none on the H310. However, so yeah, all that to be said, there's going to be a bunch of new motherboards based on this, and they're going to be cheaper than Z370 motherboards. Cool. Last thing to point out, all of these chipsets have the, again, possible functionality, if the motherboard manufacturer decides to implement it, of what they're calling ambient computing, enabled at a hardware level through the chipset, which allows for wake-on voice commands in low power mode. So it gives your computer the possible capability to act like a smartphone or other listening device, like a smartphone with Google Assistant or Siri, or like a smart speaker where you can say, "Okay Google," and tell it to do something. Your computer could now potentially have that capability. At least the hardware functionality is built into the chipset for that. So kind of fun.
Yeah.
Depending on whether or not you like talking to your computer and telling it to do things. Alright, more stuff on Intel. Like I said, there's like, honestly, the amount of stuff that Intel dropped today was pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
So let's switch over to what's being called i3 Plus, i5 Plus, and i7 Plus. Just to explain to you guys what this is, if you happen to encounter it. Octane Memory, we've talked about a little bit. I've covered a bit on my channel, but it's really, really fast. It's not NAND flash memory. It's a new technology that Intel has developed, but it's functionally equivalent to NAND, but it's way faster and very responsive and everything. But the products that Intel has launched based on it thus far have been somewhat underwhelming if you're a home user. Mainly because what they launched at first were 16 gigabyte and 32 gigabyte Intel Optane memory modules that you could use as basically like a cache drive or an accelerant for an existing SSD or hard drive, which was vaguely useful but not that awesome, especially if you were already running off of a full SSD. You didn't get a lot of benefit from that. So Intel has launched new products based on Optane in the interim since that first came out, and now they have actually expanded the Optane lineup, and they've also it's like a new generation, basically. Newer, more power efficient Optane memory caching parts are coming out. 16 gig, 32 gig, and now adding a 64 gig variant. 64 gig was not previously available. So, like, I've compared this to like system memory a lot. So when you talk about a 16 gig or a 32 gig comparison, it's really talking about like an amount of Optane memory that's equivalent to the same amount of system memory that you might have, and system memory is still faster than Optane. So bumping that up to 64 gigs is a nice bump. I'd still like to see something beyond that, but the other cool thing that they have done is they've enabled it to cache a secondary data drive now. So not just the main operating system drive like before. So whereas you may have had zero interest in the Optane drives that have been available because you bought a 256 gig Samsung 960 Evo or 960 Pro half a year or a year ago, and you're like, I don't care about this because what I have is just as good or faster, and I'm going to see no benefit from this. If you have an Optane ready platform like the new Intel motherboards that are coming out, and you already got that super fast, nice 256 gig, 500 gig NVMe SSD that you know your operating system and programs are going to go on, but you've also got a 4 terabyte or 8 terabyte mechanical hard drive that you're always kind of irritated with because it's always so slow compared to your NVMe drive. Caching that with an Intel Optane SSD, a 32 gig, or even more ideally a 64 gig, would be an effective upgrade benefit to you when you're using that drive. So
makes sense.
There you go. Intel Optane getting a little bit more useful and a little bit more effective. One last thing to point out, and this is a PC Perspective article, they were asking about caching across multiple drives with a single Optane drive. That's not possible right now. So you still have to pair your Optane drive with a single drive, whether it's a slower SSD or a mechanical drive. That's still how it works right now.
Interesting. Okay.
No word or indication if that might be something they're able to add in the future.
That would be nice.
I mean, that would be cool if they could.
Pair it with a server or something.
Yeah,
like that.
there you go.
Cool.
All right. Moving on. Next article is from TextBot, and this is from Steve. So we've got new chipset motherboards coming out, and you might be interested. All right. So effectively, what's the difference? I've been looking at a Z370 motherboard. I've been considering a purchase for a while. I've been interested in Coffee Lake and a 6-core processor, or I've been cross-comparing that with what's available on Ryzen, and I'm not quite sure. All right, now we've got these new motherboards based on these budget chipsets. What's the actual difference besides the lower price? What am I giving up if I go with B360? This article is a very good way to investigate that and learn a little bit more, because it's specifically comparing a B360 chipset motherboard to a Z370 chipset motherboard.
Okay.
So first off, no CPU or memory overclocking. So even if you have a K-SKU processor like an 8600K or 8700K, you will not be able to overclock it if you don't get a Z370 motherboard. B360 or anything below, no overclocking. That's been the way Intel's been doing it for quite some time.
Right.
Also, you do not get any RAID support. So the SATA ports that you can connect up to, you cannot configure multiple drives into a RAID 0, 1, or 5 configuration.
That's a
that
bummer.
is something that you can do on Z370.
Is that how it's been also with previous generations of Intel platforms, chipsets, RAID?
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to. I want to say yes completely, but I know by and large that's something that's a feature that drops off when you step down. I think there maybe have been some, because like which is the Q one? I've already forgotten it. Q370. Q370 is like the highest end business-oriented chipset, so no overclocking, but it has some more support for like vPro and more enterprise type connectivity and functions. But I do not know,
because I feel like that's something that you could easily do. Like you could set up a RAID array or something like that and not have an overclocked CPU. Like I feel like those two things are independent of each other, and you might not care about overclocking, but you still might want a RAID setup. So I feel like that's a big reason to upgrade to like Z370. You know what I mean? Like if you wanted to take advantage of that sort of drive system.
I know why people hear the buzzing.
Hero?
Because these are all in the same circuit. You should turn off the fan. Are you okay to turn off the fan?
I'm okay to turn off the fan.
You should get more beer too.
I'll turn on.
For you at least.
Oh wait, your thingy came on.
What? Oh, that's not the on-off switch.
Oh, that's the rotating.
Yeah.
I haven't used an old school fan.
Just
like
the left. An old school fan?
It's old school, man.
It's not old school.
Dude,
This is
it's
a
so
fan.
old school. It's got weird black.
It's like 5 years
It's all
old, maybe.
funny and stuff. What do you
It's
want?
an electrical
you want
fan.
an IPA or you want?
I'm okay actually for now.
You're good.
Yeah, I've realized.
I thought you said beer, so.
I did say beer, but I realized you were out. But I actually still have a decent amount. I've been
Is there
talking.
any more DT or?
No, it's done.
I'm fine. I'm hide for now.
Okay.
Probably good.
Anyway, moving right along though.
All right.
B360 versus Z370. So apart from not having access to RAID, you're also going to have fewer PCI Express lanes directly to the chipset. There's a chart down here. So for example, you have the Flex IO for the chipset that the motherboard manufacturer can assign how they want to. You have up to 24 available on Z370. You only have 12 available on B360. You'll also notice, for example, well, USB 3.1 Gen 2, you actually get an improvement because you have up to 4 available natively. But you have less USB 3.1 Gen 1.
Meh.
It's a trade-off. Excuse me. A little bit less USB 2.0. This one's an important one here. Intel RST PCIe 3.0 M.2 storage. You can have up to 3 M.2 connected devices for like NVMe superfast SSDs with Z370. That cuts down to 1 with B360. So that's a pretty decent fall off. Now granted, with a budget setup, you probably won't need more than 1 superfast SSD.
I feel like even with a higher end setup, I
maybe
need more than
maybe this makes sense for you, but I don't know. For me, when I compare the fall off in features that Intel sets up when you drop from their Z series down below, I mean the overclocking is huge, but like comparing it to what AMD gives you, like I feel like you get more bang for your buck with the AMD budget boards than you do with Intel.
Absolutely.
But again, it's more particularly if you're overclocking. So if you're not overclocking, then it might be a little bit more feasible for you. Also worth pointing out that the memory already mentioned is not overclockable. If you, for example, get memory that has an XMP profile, you can go and plug that in with a B360 motherboard. You won't get the memory frequency. So like the memory frequency is based on the processor that you install. If you have an i5 or an i7, you have 2666 capability. If you have an i3, you have 2400 capability. The memory that you install, if you install say 3000 speed memory or 3200 speed memory, is going to run at that baseline frequency that based on the processor you have installed. But you can still plug in the XMP value and the timings will plug in.
Sure.
So that's a thing.
Why would you need to run super high speed memory on an Intel based platform?
Without seeing more direct benchmarks from it, I couldn't say. I know in the past it hasn't had that much impact on the Intel platform, and it was more of a thing when like with AMD and Ryzen, to where the memory frequency became more of a thing where like you want to get the faster memory because it's going to give you a nice boost. Not having tested any of this stuff myself or being able to reference anyone else's benchmarks, I can't say whether or not that's going to be the fact here as well. But I mean, faster memory is faster memory, and usually even if it's minimal, there's some kind of gain you get from it. Anyway, beyond that, there are benchmarks here in the article, and Steve has done us all a solid by testing different chipsets and different motherboards against each other, which must be very boring work because, as you can see here, there is no difference.
Very similar, yeah. It's not exactly the same.
Yeah, he's testing an 8700, an i7 8700 with the Intel box cooler. He also tested it with an aftermarket cooler, a Deepcool GAMX 200T, and then he's also got some benchmarks for the 8400 down here as well. Basically, if you're talking about simply switching chipsets, there's no difference at all, and that's to be expected.
Yeah.
He did find that with the GAMX, specifically with the 8700, he got improved performance. Now, this has a little bit more to do with the processor and the power delivery configuration on the motherboard than it does necessarily with the default chipset functionality. But here you can also see Corona 1.3 benchmark with really not much difference, and POV rate 3.7 with not much difference. and Blender, with also
All marginal.
not much difference. Apart from, again, that 8700 with the aftermarket cooler. But really
Right.
what we're looking at there is the impact of an aftermarket cooler and a budget motherboard that has lower quality of power delivery and configuration for the CPU.
Right.
Because that is lower quality, over time with a higher power draw CPU with more cores and more threads, more going on generally, an 8700 versus an 8400, the power delivery elements heat up over time and eventually lead to throttling, which affects performance. So you get more performance with an aftermarket cooler, but there is still some leveling off based on the actual motherboard configuration itself.
Gotcha.
So there you go.
Makes sense.
Even though there is no inherent difference in performance between, say, a budget chipset B360 motherboard and a nicer Z370 motherboard, you will often find that the more expensive chipset motherboards are paired with higher quality components, which can lead to better performance over time. It's not a universal statement, though. So it's why you gotta kind of pick and choose and be aware of the different things that might impact the performance, especially when it comes to the power delivery configuration of the motherboard, and also something that maybe you wouldn't consider when you're talking. Well, it's like, I'm not overclocking, and I'm not going to push this up to 5 gigahertz or something like that. So why would it matter? They're using an 8700. An i7 8700, which is going to run at a default bass and boost frequency and steppings in between, and they're still seeing a fall off in performance based on the motherboard not having sufficient enough power delivery elements to not overheat over time.
Wait, so I'm sorry, why would a Z370 platform see better performance than a B360 platform? I missed that.
It's not inherently because of any difference in the chipset. It's simply because a Z370 motherboard is more likely to have, say, for example, more power phases to deliver power to the CPU, or better hardware on the power phases to deliver power CPU. Like, more power phases isn't necessarily better.
Right.
There's a MOSFET, a choke, and a cap with your basic power delivery elements per phase. And you can have a better MOSFET, choke, and a cap and 4 of them, or you can have 8 lower ones. But the effective thing is that all of those, as they're delivering power to the CPU, are going to warm up over time. If you have a CPU that's drawing more power, they're going to warm up more. And if you have fewer phases or lower quality components, they're going to get hot to the point where it starts to throttle.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's kind of the nature of the beast type of thing.
Okay.
Got it.
So yeah, don't expect a huge drop off in performance going with B360, but the article does summarize by saying if you're considering a higher end processor like an 8700 that has 6 cores and 12 threads, then it might be worth your while to invest a little bit more in your motherboard as well.
And anyone hearing a hum in the background now that the fan is off is most likely due to the refrigerator or Hero snoring. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Hero. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about anything you've just said.
Well, now I'm...
No respect for Chef. He stopped snoring.
Well,
as soon as I said that, he was like, "Stop snoring." He's like, he got self-conscious.
Now I'm gonna need to
just keep snoring, Hero. We
for the
love
mic
you.
cords. All right. I'm gonna try to do some troubleshooting, guys, over the next week, or at least between now and the next time that we live stream from here, and try to figure out what's causing that. All right, let's move on. Done with the Intel stuff for now. Just a couple more stories, and then we're gonna play some video games real quick before we end things. This is a DigiTimes article, which may or may not end up behind a paywall. That happens over time. We've talked about NvidiaGPP and its potential impact on the graphics card market several times over the past month or two, and this is just a little follow-up on it. Industry sources said that 3 Taiwan brands have reportedly adjusted their new product development roadmaps. They may also launch new gaming brands based on AMD's GPU platform. So the idea here is that NvidiaGPP program, the GeForce Partner Program, forces companies that work with both AMD and Nvidia to solely align their gaming brand, which is usually a sub-brand, with Nvidia. So with Gigabyte, it's Aorus. With Asus,
ROG,
it's ROG, or Republic of Gamers. With MSI, it's their
Gaming. MSI is just gaming.
Gaming, I guess I just call it gaming. So the implication here from the article is that there is a movement on the side of these GPU manufacturers who work with both brands to create another different sub-brand for the AMD stuff. Now, what I'm still kind of curious about is whether there is some specific legalese or contract stuff going on that prevents them from using the word gaming with those brands. We'll have to wait and see.
That would be shitty.
But there is a little bit of feedback from people. MSI Chairman Joseph Su said the market demand for graphics cards will continue to expand robustly for mining and gaming uses. How incredibly generic. At the same time, we should point out that ASRock is now making AMD graphics cards, discrete AMD graphics cards, which we talked about a little bit when it was rumored. But now it actually does seem to be a thing. So, more
like, are they doing 570s and 580s, or are they doing like Vegas?
That's a good question. I wish I could answer that question right now.
It's all good, man.
I have to do an internet search to answer that. I bet chat can pull that up.
Tell us, chat. Tell us now.
All right. Let's continue, though. The HTC Vive Pro, we've talked about a little bit. There's a link in the description to a PC Gamer review of the HTC Vive Pro. There are some drawbacks to it, namely, or most importantly, the price, because it's very expensive. It's another $800 for the Vive Pro headset, and you need to already have an HTC Vive Original that has the light boxes and everything to work with.
If you don't have that, and you're just buying it straight from the get-go, it's more than that, right? It's like $1,000, $1,100.
You would have to buy both together. I don't think they're currently selling the Vive Pro as a kit standalone. As far as I can tell. However,
that's crazy.
The flip side to it is that you get a big increase in visual clarity. 2880 by 1600 pixels, or 1440 by 1600 per eye. It's an improvement over the 2160 by 1200 of the original headset. 78% increase in resolution. And according to the review, it's enough to effectively eliminate the visual detractions from the original HTC Vive that might have taken you away from it, such as the rounding and blurring at the edges of the frame of view, as well as the screen door effect that you get from the pixels being spaced a little bit too far apart.
That was pretty annoying.
Yeah, so $800, you get the headset and you get a new link box, but you do not get the controllers or the base sensors.
Looks like it has a lot more cushion around the face mask area too.
There will be a discontinued bundle containing the Pro, 2 original controllers, and 2 original base sensors with extra equipment discounted to $299. So that would still make it $1,100 for everything you need to spend.
Not to mention you would need a faster PC to run VR at that resolution.
Yes, you're talking about a high resolution, so you're going to need better base hardware as well. And that was always one of the drawbacks of the original HTC Vive 2.
Yeah.
So this is still a niche product, but for people who already had the Vive and were really into it, it's an upgrade that you can purchase and integrate into your system.
You don't really think about how the inflated RAM and GPU prices affect the VR market so much as like the immediate, obvious PC DIY market. But you need a good PC to run VR, and now you need an even better PC to run these new and improved headsets, and the pricing for all of that shit is jacked up to the point where if you were like, you know, a little bit hesitant to spend $1,000 on a decent gaming PC that could run VR, you're probably looking at like $1,500 to $2,000 for a system that could do that now.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Not a great time to release a brand new headset with increased resolution and higher recommended specs, but you know.
Also, Hero is snoring down there right now.
Snoring away.
Although he just opened his eyes and he feels self-conscious that I pointed him out.
You're very self-conscious, Hero.
All right. Before we play video games, I have one last bit of just
news?
Fun to share with you.
Fun?
This is from Reuters, and technology is fun, but it's also fun to watch when new technology fails. So
Yay.
This is actually from Russia, and they're attempting to launch their first ever postal drone. Russian postal drone that will deliver mail to people in Russia, and they have a bunch of people gathered around as it takes its maiden voyage. As you can see, it's fly into the air so great, ever so gracefully.
People in Russia still dress like they're from the 1950s.
There it goes, right into the side of the building.
Oh my god. Wow.
There it is. Wait, let's watch that again. Here's this. And the
oh my god, that happened so fast.
Smash.
I hope it wasn't carrying a fragile product like a piece of glass or some nice crystal.
I don't know if they actually had any actual mail.
I got a wine delivery for some wine glasses.
Going through it right then, but anyway, I thought that was kind of funny, so you guys could watch.
Drone fails are always the best.
All right, we're gonna. Gosh darn it! It's already 8 o'clock. So
it is. Holy fuck.
Let's do this quickly then.
All right.
And we can actually overlap this with answering questions.
Sure.
So, in the past, when we've done awesome hardware, and we haven't done this for a while, we have after the show done an after party where we play video games.
Yep.
So we stopped doing that because we realized that after we have done the live show and drank beer and everything, that
tired as fuck.
You get tired and it sucks. So my thought was, hey, let's attempt to integrate the
after party with part of the show.
With part of the show itself.
Sounds like a terrible idea.
We're gonna start that off today. Today's after party.
But I'm very curious about this simulator.
Is inspired by Jay's live stream earlier today, and we've got some PC gaming simulator. We're gonna play right now. All right.
Let's do it.
This is currently on Steam Early Access. It's
Woo!
cost $20.
Woo!
And
$20.
We're gonna kick off a new game right now.
Look at all that tessellation right there. Them triangles.
Oh my gosh. And
to begin, go to your PC. You don't program your desktop. You've got mail.
Okay.
What is this? AOL?
Here's how it starts. Just All right,
holy shit.
We've got a.
Hey, look, there's Mod Zoo. Why aren't our posters up there, Paul? There should be like a Paul's Hardware and a Bitwit.
You're right.
Like poster.
We should have teamed up. It's also got fun music playing.
I like that nice Asus flat screen there. Asus panel.
Oh yeah, that's solid.
Looks like a wireless mechanical keyboard, perhaps.
All right, so
impressive. We
go onto our computer and into our email.
Have you tested this out yet?
No, I watched Jay playing it earlier today. Jay did a live stream.
Okay.
He had way more live viewers than we have.
That's okay.
But they were crappy.
Yeah.
The quality of our live viewers is far superior to Jay.
You guys are way better.
So I agree. Very, very loose idea of what goes on. Basically, you check your mail here, and your uncle Tim used to have this PC shop, right?
I need a computer.
He's handing it down to you, and he's saying the company's not doing well, and there's no money, and rent and energy, and don't forget to put thermal paste on there, and also he borrowed $15 for fuel, so you start at negative $15.
Wow.
Yeah.
Uncle Tim's a fucking bastard.
I know. Other than that, here's our first email, which says, "Hey Tim, I hope you can help me. I have some viruses." So we click go to PC, and then we're out in the hallway here, and So on the hallway of the business is where your computers that you're gonna work on line up. So click on that. Wait, how does that work? Oh, right click and I pick it up, and then we're gonna walk it in here, set it down on our workstation, and then we can see as we mouse over the PC what our objectives are. We need to remove the viruses. The status is also that it is not plugged in.
I wish debug LEDs were that advanced, where it could just be like, you need to remove viruses. Just boot to the operating system.
We need to run a virus scan.
Okay.
How do we?
Is that an S340?
What?
It looks like an S340
Um,
case.
it might be. Hold on.
Gotta be. Look at that. It's got the cable management bar, the window, the feet,
Oh, there we go.
the body. Look at that shitty Intel stock cooler.
If we right click and drag, we can.
We need to pimp this PC out, Paul. We need to like critique it and change it. Immediately.
Probably.
It's terrible. It looks terrible. It needs our help.
All right, so we're gonna click on cables here. Plug in the cables. Where's this cable? You have to click and hold.
This is riveting stuff.
You have to hold it for a second in order to actually pick it up.
Just like in real life. So realistic.
It's fascinating. Okay.
Insert USB drive.
So we need to go to our inventory and get the USB drive and plug it in there. Good. Power
Boot it.
on the PC.
Boot it up.
It is powering on. We can see the fan spinning.
Yay.
It's good.
Wait, you just click the power button. You don't actually press the button. They should make you press the button on the computer.
It's power button down here.
Yeah, it doesn't make
computers
sense.
have different power buttons, Kyle.
Yeah, but that one, see, okay, I guess
You can. It looks like you can click it directly too
That's
if you really want to.
Okay. Can you remove the side panel?
Yes, you can. But we're not doing that now. We just need to
Do
get the virus scanner installed.
Take it off.
What
is this stupid desktop background? It's like shit.
This is the Omega OS, Kyle.
Can you change your desktop background? Not make it look like poop?
I don't know.
Oh,
you must restart. All right. Good.
Can you boot into the BIOS? Does it let you boot into the BIOS? I didn't see a splash screen that lets you delete to boot to BIOS.
That's possible. All right, we're gonna scan the computer.
Clean.
Gotta clean those files.
Wow, a 1 second virus scan.
Boom.
That's impressive.
Boom. Computer protected.
I wish it was that easy.
Cool. All right.
This is all lies. This is nothing accurate about the simulator. It's all bullshit.
All right, we're gonna pick up the computer
And throw it.
put it back by the door.
Throw it at your enemies.
Collect our reward. Look at this. Hell yeah. $100. Bitches, we are now in the positive. And we're going to get an answer. Thank you for fixing my PC. It's booting faster than it has in years.
Wow.
This
That
person
guy-
is satisfied with our services.
He replied really quickly.
I know.
Like literally 2 seconds after you.
We just earned $100.
That's good money.
That's awesome money.
Quitting my day job to build
Alright.
PCs.
What's next? I've got the bug. All right, so obviously since our first interaction went so well, we got some referrals from other people.
Yeah, how do these referrals pop up so quickly?
I don't know. All right, so we need a
popular.
Mortoni Easy Store
Also.
500 gig SATA drive. Okay. Yeah, fine. Could you look at my PC? It's running as well. Remove viruses. All right, we know how to do that. That's easy. And then we got graphics card has fried itself. I need to be replaced by a GTX 970. Need to be replaced with the same one.
Xi'an
Nvidia
ones?
GTX 970. Maybe one of the Xi'an ones. Okay.
So you
Xi'an
get $500
GeForce GTX 970 Gamer.
That's
Okay.
not a real brand.
What?
That's not a real brand, is it?
What do you mean?
Shein?
How do I
Fuck is Shein?
How do I order new stuff? Oh, shop. We gotta go to the shop. All right.
This is too
We get
complicated.
it in 970.
I want a pre-built desktop simulator where you just buy a computer. and then it just ships
This
within
is
2
this
seconds.
is what she said, right? The 970 gamer.
Yeah.
Let me get that.
That's inaccurate. It should actually say 3.5 gigabytes of
It
VRAM.
should. It should say 3.5.
That's
that would be
technically
more.
an inaccurate
Would be more
simulator.
accurate.
I'm very disappointed in the authenticity of this application.
All right, we got next day delivery for $30, or 3 to 5 working days for $10. I can't imagine. All right, we're gonna do. I don't want to pay $30 for shipping. That's bullshit. Okay. Emails back.
Queen Brittany.
Our account is overdrawn. Megacorp, we know that your life doesn't always run smoothly, so we can provide a free overdraft for all your customers. Free overdraft limit is $1,000, so we can get up to $1,000 in the hole. Free money.
Free money.
That's exactly how that should work. All right.
Why are your stools
It's over here.
opaque or semi-opaque? And
I
your
think
desk?
that's because you must be level 3 to build the second workbench.
You must have a GTX 1080 to render these desks.
You must be level 8 to build the third workbench. So we gotta level up. We gotta level up in our PC building skills, Kyle. It's a role-playing game. There's also a
fire extinguisher.
extinguisher up here, and we got a Z97N Wi-Fi,
Never know.
and we got
Some speakers, power strip.
we got some CDRWs there apparently as well. All right, let's go out into the world. Oh, ending the day to advance to tomorrow.
Pay rent $500.
Cool.
So that's what it's
It'll
like.
work.
This is basically what Paul and I deal with every day. If you ever wanted to know what our lives are like, just play this game,
But we could do
and
this.
it's accurate. It's like 100%.
We could do this and simulate it,
Yeah.
and then
And we just make computers all day and give them to people, and we
I
make
forgot
money.
to order the Mortoni Easy Store 500 gig SATA drive. Hold on, we should have ordered that.
I feel like this almost makes a bad name for PC building, because I feel like building a computer in real life is way more fun than this. And most people who are curious about building their own PCs are going to play this simulator and be like, well, that's something I'm never doing in real life. That was fucking terrible.
Oh, this one we just need to remove the viruses from.
Maybe
We got
you
this
just
one
need
down.
to play it a little bit longer before it
Alright.
gets good.
You should start going over donation.
Let's go over donations.
Yeah.
The Junk Man, thank you very much for the $10 donation. Both of you are the ones who helped me build my first PC, about to build another. Just wanted to say thanks, and I only go to your channels for advice. Messed up the last one. LOL. Thank you very much, Junk Man. Good luck on your second build. I'm very glad that the first one was a success and that we were able to help you with that. Congrats. Zofotoziggy. $5. Hello,
Zofotoziggy.
been watching Awesome Hardware since episode 39, but I haven't been able to donate till now. Thank you, tax returns. Hey, good job, Uncle
Yay,
Sam.
tax
You
returns.
did a good thing for once. Thank you very much, Ziggy. Appreciate it, man. Another one from Ziggy, $5. Splitting the tax return equally between Paul and Kyle. Enjoy.
Nice.
I like that.
I like tax returns.
Socialism, bitch. Bazinga X, $20 for more makeup, Paul. Being a casual gamer, will I see much difference between 5 milliseconds and 1 millisecond response time monitor? Only to the very trained eye will you see a difference, in my opinion. I could be gaming on a 1 millisecond or 5 millisecond response time monitor and really have the same experience. I think unless you are that in tune or a professional gamer, would you really see a huge noticeable difference. 5 milliseconds is still fairly fast, especially if you can get that on an IPS panel where the color reproduction is a lot greater than, say, a TN panel that doesn't have to shift things as quickly and can be quicker. So I think 5 milliseconds is just fine. I would just say if you're going with IPS, 5 milliseconds is fine. If it's TN, then you might as well go for 1 milliseconds because it's faster.
5 or less. I agree.
Less. Philip Rams, $10. Mr. Paul, with you going to solar, will you be totally off the grid now, hidden away from government eyes and other undesirables?
Not completely. I'm still connected to the grid, and everything will be backed up on the solar and the Powerwall except for the AC. I don't use the AC very often, but the AC will still be on the grid.
Brad Jolly, $5. Dos Equis or Tecate? Too late. Already ported Dos Equis. Just copped a shirt from each of your stores. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much, Brad. I would probably prefer Dos Equis over Tecate.
Me too.
Lesser of the two evils. Tecate does have the cool bald eagle though. That's pretty sweet. Troll McTrollington, 20 Canadiers, just cause Kyle sucks. ... Sometimes. LOL. JK. Thanks, Troll McTrollington. Great pick me up, and to boost my confidence, fuck you. No, no, I'm just kidding. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions, and sometimes you're right. Sometimes I do suck. Just ask my wife. She'll tell you Kyle sucks all the time. Hai Lung, $5 from Love from Texas. Kyle, you should do a weekly Pimp My PC video. Surprised no one has paid money to tell you this before. A weekly Pimp My PC video.
Weekly.
Maybe monthly. Maybe monthly would be cool. I mean, I tried to do that with Booted. Booted was like a live stream series that I did.
Oh yeah,
was
whatever happened to Booted?
Booted just didn't take off. I mean, I think a live web series for YouTube was a bit premature back then. I think it still is. Streaming on YouTube just hasn't caught on like Twitch has, obviously. But I did like the idea of Booted, and I still, who knows? One day I might try something similar to it, just in a different way. But I guess we'll see. But yeah, Pimp My PC has been a very popular segment on awesome hardware, and we don't plan on stopping it anytime soon. Maybe we'll do something else with it as an extension later down the line. Bradley Long, $10. I like beans. Good to know.
Beams?
Beans, like the food. I like beans too. Oh, and by the way, love watching the live streams. Thoughts about the HP Envy X370 Ryzen 5? I have one, and I'm having weird issues with graphics drivers and support for Ryzen U processors. I've heard the HP Envies, the HP Envies have been pretty good. I don't know about the particular model that you have. They look super sexy. If you're having graphics drivers issues, I don't know. I mean, try reinstalling them. That's a pretty obvious first step. And I can't really say what else is the issue. I'm not too familiar with that particular model of laptop. Haven't actually had one in the studio. But good luck. Hope everything works out. But you're still... I like how the music in this game has sort of gotten more upbeat as you've continued making more systems and stuff for people.
Yeah, it's obviously
it's more groovy.
Goes along with your progress.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah, I'm feeling it. Cole Jackson, 5 Canadiers. I hate that I live in Canada sometimes. I was gonna buy the Bitwit desk mat, but Canadian shipping is $15. So here's a donation because y'all are awesome. Thank you very much, Mr. Jackson. We appreciate the donation, and I'm sorry that shipping costs can sometimes be extreme.
I agree.
From either of our stores. That is sort of the nature of the beast. But we do what we can, and believe it or not, those shipping rates are better than what they were in years prior. We're constantly trying to hammer that down. Guido Salducci, $5. I would like to point out that the X370 boards already have 802.11 AC, plus one AMD, motherfuckers. Okay.
Not natively though.
Not all of them.
Not integrated into the chipset.
It depends on the X370
At least according to
board.
what that article said.
No, I have a couple X370 boards at home or at the office that aren't Wi-Fi compatible, so I guess it just depends. It's literally left up to the manufacturers at that point if they want to integrate that. Shane Smart, $6.66. Good job, Paul. You set my Google Pixel 2 XL off when explaining about the new Intel motherboards and possible speaker integration. LOL.
Sorry.
Nice. That's just the world we live in, folks. It's a harsh life. Cooley 77707, $5. Will a 1080 Ti bottleneck an 8600K? I'd say overclock that sucker and you're good to go. Honestly, that is one of the fastest gaming chips on the market in terms of IPCs. And if you overclock it, you should have no problem pairing it with that card. Clint Flippo, $40. What's up, my dudes? Do you guys drink your beer warm, or is there a cooler under the table? I've wondered about this for years, literally years. We haven't even done the show for years. We've probably done it for like a year and a half.
We've been doing the show for a few years now.
Has it been like 2 years?
This is in the 3-year range now.
Oh wow. Okay. Wow. Shit. I didn't realize that it was that old. No, we have beer in the fridge.
It's weekly, and we're in the 145 range.
I don't know how many weeks were there now.
52.
52. Fuck.
Yeah.
It has been almost 3 years. Time just flies.
I know.
Shit. It's kind of scary. No, we have beer in the fridge, and then we just pull it out when we need it. It's pretty straightforward. No mystery there. No veiled curtain. Pub Shepherd, $10. I'll be offline when you read this, but here's some money. I think my FX 8350 may be dying. Random freezes, last image on screen and sound stops. I ran memtest and replaced the PSU. Ran past, no fixed. Yeah, you never know, man. I mean, it's probably an old chip, especially if you bought it around the time of its release. It's definitely showing signs of age at this point, and it could very well just be a dying CPU. That does happen. Brandon Jacobs, $5. Watch many of your streams, and this is my first live stream. Love you guys. Keep it up. Thank you very much, Brandon.
Nice.
Appreciate it. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Brandon.
Hopefully you join us for the next one. We didn't scare you away too bad. On that note, I have one Johnson shout out to Brad Johnson, to Brad for picking up a metallic silver logo Bitwitch shirt. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it, sir. And that's it.
I have a few Johnsons. I have one. Brad gets a double Johnson.
Double Johnson, Brad!
He also got the Tri-Blend Thumbscrew shirt from me.
Hey.
A couple more here from Edgar.
Hey.
In Kansas. Thank you, Edgar Johnson, to you. The stainless steel bottle opener with the thumbscrew on it.
Woo!
Which is really nice. Brandon.
Sexy.
Brandon from Ohio also gets a Johnson. He got the keycap and thumbscrew decal.
Johnson.
The decal.
Tickle.
Thank you, and Johnson to you.
Woo!
All right, that's
it?
We're done?
That's all she wrote, folks. We do have a raid, a Twitch raid that we could bestow upon all of y'all. This is Warwitch TV. W-A-R Witch. W-I-T-C-H. TV. Warwitch TV.
Warwitch TV.
According to his stream page, he is playing some Doom, one of my favorite PC games of all time. And he's
Doom Returns Nightmare.
streaming it in 60 FPS apparently. So guys, show him some love. He's got 125 viewers at the moment. Let's crank that up fivefold. Let's fucking show him what we're made of. So
Look forward to it.
guys, that's pretty much the end of the show.
It is. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, hit the thumbs up button. If you are watching and you want to watch it all again and make timestamps for us, we greatly appreciate that. And if you post those in the comments, we will pin it. We will find someone and pin those. And in the meantime, we have more videos coming out later this week, right?
Yes.
Okay, so subscribe to both of our channels for all that stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching, as always. And go watch Warwitch TV. Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Night, guys.